Hey right bags, it's Jade. Welcome to a grounded news video today. A little bit light in terms of actual big stuff happening, but I do want to address a few things that are going wrong at the moment with the game. A lot of progress blockers and some stability issues. So the devs know about a lot of this, and I'm going to show you how they know so that you don't have to worry about reporting certain things and maybe other stuff that you should be reporting to hopefully get stuff fixed. So we're going to talk about all that. There was a little Q&A session on today's Casually Grounded, and it was filled with lots of great ideas and stuff, but nothing really concrete. So if you're expecting news about big updates or content, it's far too early. The game's only launched a few weeks ago. They're still in hotfix mode, and actually some of the devs are taking a well-earned break. So we're going to cover all that as well. So I guess we're going to go through that today, and then I am going to touch a little bit on the discussion around Nerfs. I had a bit of a rant today in my live stream talking about it and about perceived negativity from some people. And yeah, we're going to go over it just a little bit. If you want to see more grounded content, make sure you like, because that's what YouTube says. If you want to see more of this content, you've got to like the video, and let's go. So the Casually Grounded team, they were streaming with Patrick Static, a streamer today, and they went through a bunch of cool stuff as they always do. If you don't know, every Wednesday they generally stream, and they said they was going to reduce the amount of times they stream, but it looks like they carried on for a bit longer. I reckon by the next couple of weeks, once they've got their next game up and running, they might not stream as much. If you go and join my Discord, I'll always do a written recap of anything that is said or spoken about in these streams if you don't want to wait for the video. And just a little FYI as well, I'm now taking base pictures as well for you to show me so I can come on tour every Sunday. I'm going to be doing that in live streams. So you'll find a link to my Discord in the comment section. But effectively, a few questions were asked. Some players were asking why we can't change the bug locations anymore. It was a feature during early access that if bugs got stuck, you couldn't find any bugs, they weren't really spawning in the right spots. You could press a button in the options and they would go back to where they originally were. But that was a feature for early access. Now they want you to actually tell them specifically where bugs are getting stuck. So if a wolf spider is getting stuck underneath a rock, if ants aren't able to clear certain pieces of terrain, then take a screenshot and report it in the Discord, or via their email support ticket system as well, which you can find on their website. A lot of the team are on holiday now, as I said, a well-deserved break. They did push a few hotfixes out last week. They know there's a multitude of problems and issues, which I'm going to show you with the issue tracker. And the biggest two out of them are definitely the problems with black ants hoarding food and making your game stutter with frame rate drops and stuff like that. And the Java-matic stopping progress for some people. You're not able to actually finish the game because there's a certain thing that stops that progress. So they know about them two issues, but they're still looking for more info to investigate it. And kind of that was it. They said they probably wouldn't be putting a patch out this week. So whatever problems we have got with the stutter frames and the Java-matic still not being able to be fixed, complete the 100% or get through the end game, you are going to have to wait maybe until next week. They did mention that they are still working on the hotfix issues, but by sounds of it, yeah, it's felt to me like, yeah, it wouldn't come until maybe next week now. The rest of the stuff that was mentioned, as I could record it, was kind of Eric being pretty positive about content. Really just not dismissing ideas and saying it's a good idea, we've spoken about it, it's on their list of suggestions. So things like another tier bow. A lot of you guys want a tier 3 bow rather than just a crossbow. As we know, if you checked out my leaked videos content I did over the weekend, there is something like a mantis bow or something that looks like a mantis bow deep in the files but was never added to 1.0. Also spoke a little bit about more staves and they're thinking possibly about that in the future. Carrying pets is something they're also possibly thinking about but no timelines. And yeah, just a general few more answers like that yeah, it's a great idea, leave it in suggestions, etc. One interesting aspect is they did also again confirm that there is cool stuff in the works. Eric wouldn't explicitly say what it was, but don't worry, there is going to be plenty of content coming to Grounded. So one of the things that frustrates me, especially when I read Discord sometimes or comments on videos, is there is a whole board dedicated to the biggest problems that are happening in Grounded right now, and it's kept up to date pretty frequently. So if the first thing you encounter is some sort of bug like the Java-matic stopping you from progressing, or maybe the frame rate stuttering around the black anthill with the rubbish and the food, then absolutely keep this pinned somewhere in your internet history or whatever and keep track of that stuff. Don't have to wait for stupid YouTube videos from me or the big next hotfix patch to know whether or not it's going to be included. It's clearly here. The black ants are gathering lots of food in water between the trash bags that's causing performance issues. They've already fixed a problem with players losing gear when they disconnect in a multiplayer game. That's apparently fixed and will go live with the next patch. They're investigating that Java-matic sequence not beginning. Also still investigating reports of the Xbox shutting down when you're in the Mantis fight, and we know there's performance issues with that across the board, whether it's PC or Xbox. It does slow down for the majority of players. Game does not let the player log into the Xbox Live account after running the game as administrator. Xbox One has reduced performance and may power down due to overheating during the Mantis battle. Also, a fix for players not being able to join their friends in multiplayer. Currently at the moment there's a workaround for this, especially on Steam where this problem might be happening. I did waffle on about this hotfix issue, but I'll leave the link. Go and read it for yourself. It seems to be affecting a smaller minority of people, so probably not worth wasting too much of your time on in this video. It does look like also another problem with the multiplayer loading up for some players has been fixed and will be coming, at least one version of it at least, while they're still investigating it technically. They've already fixed the problem with the Natural Explorers mutation. This got added, it was a huge buff. Natural Explorers mode now gives you a huge amount of speed. Honestly, I played it the first time today as I've been on holiday for the last 5 days, and it felt like I was Speedy Gonzales. This felt like I was cheating using some sort of mod. So it's great that it's actually been added. I'm hoping they don't nerf it a little bit, but it's certainly something that's really, I've seen a big improvement in. But as soon as you start attacking a creature, it comes off. You're meant to just go to normal speed. But the problem is a lot of you guys are reporting you actually go to slower than normal speed when you've got the Natural Explorers mutation on. So that has been fixed. It will arrive in the next patch. And again, VoiceOver Jade comes in here. As I said, a lot of these other fixes or problems, it does look like some of them have been fixed, but they haven't updated this board. But like I said, most of the time, this issue tracker is kept up to date pretty frequently. I'm sure I saw that the rotating pieces have been fixed. If it's still broken, let me know. And things like the backpack being updated or losing your gear, well, obviously we're like 3 hot fixes now since 1.0, so I'm sure that must have been fixed by now. And then a few other things that don't really matter as much. Like you do get a prompt if you've noticed it. It seems like you can hit something on Moldok's castle. That's to do with the button that's associated with it. Like when you put the press the power button, you can get the sounds that come from the castle. So people were assuming that you can maybe harvest the green stuff. That's what we kind of figured before 1.0. But it turns out it's just because it's part of that one structure. Crusty roly-poly helmet cannot be picked up on older saves. Multiple rust nodes fall outside of the world inside the termite woodpile. That's happened to me quite a bit. Roof interior corners are not accurately connected to each other. They're also asking for help with extremely low mouse sensitivity. Creatures are spawning in player bases. They're looking at that still. Grubs appear to spawn on any surface such as dried leaves near the oak tree. But you get the idea. If you can go through this website, you can see what some of the major fixes were for some of the patches that have gone live. The biggest one, of course, was that Friday fix that stopped game crashing when you use the auto inventory sort button. That was happening a lot on Xbox. That's been fixed now. And the prod smacker being picked up through the wall, that has also been fixed or nerfed. So when it comes to the actual nerf situation, I think a lot of things are being blown out of proportion a little bit. I understand nerfs aren't fun, but I've definitely seen a vocal minority kind of ruin or try to ruin the fun for a lot of players. For me, the most important stuff is some of them fixes for progression or performance, like the game stuttering or crashing when you're in the Mantis boss fight. They are much more important than just some nerfs on some weapons and armour. If you don't know what I'm talking about, somehow you missed it. It's been a hot topic. Lots of nerfs occurred to certain builds like poison build and critical hit builds. There were a bunch of also buffs, including magic damage, that got a massive increase in what they output once you start upgrading them. And things like the Explorer's mutation being massively upgraded. But as always, some people focus on the negatives, missing out on a whole bunch of stuff, including like the Mantis Scythe costing 25% less stamina to use, the Moth armor sets being buffed quite massively too, and even old armor like the B armor set being effectively doubled. Now I went through this all just before my holiday, but it was a quick video. I didn't really have time to process or show any gameplay like I've been trying to do lately. But in Discord, particularly amongst the hardcore fans and other creators like Milton Mediocre, there seems to be like this conspiracy that the devs are hiding stuff from us. They're not revealing the full patch notes. Why are they lying, or why are they trying to be deceitful? And it's complete and absolute bollocks. The Grounded devs have been really good at communicating with the fans all throughout early access. Things like having that board with known issues, making sure that on Discord everything's kept up to date with patch notes. If you follow them either on Twitter or whether it's on Reddit or whether it's in Discord, you're usually kept up to date with what's going on with fixes. At the same time, they've taken on board massive feedback to do with improving stuff in the past, whether it's things like the waft emitter back when it first got implemented, base parts getting more health, and lots more durability being added to items. And this is why I get grumpy and I kind of go off on one when people start talking about it, as if the devs are trying to hide stuff on purpose, like they really don't want players to know stuff. And I'm just going to spell it out for you. You've got to be absolutely thick as 2 planks of wood if you think the grounded devs, all 20 of them, are somehow colluding to hide stuff on purpose. When they do these patch notes, you can bet the level designers, the programmers, the coders, all have their notes that go automatically uploaded. But that's a lot of data. And so normally whoever compiles these patch notes has to pick out the most important parts and also make it presentable. There is so much data that just won't make sense to majority of players. Even now, a lot of you guys watch these videos because you want me to explain exactly how these buffs, nerfs and changes actually work. I even still get a bit confused about what some of this stuff does. And I've been doing these kinds of videos for 6 or 7 years, covering games like Ark, Conan and whatever. All throughout that time, whenever I've spoken to community managers or developers, the same things popped up. If they really showed and spoke about every single change we saw in a game, the patch notes would be about 20 pages. It wouldn't be palatable, it takes up more time than it's worth. Instead, what we need to know about is the most important ones. For builds, for certain things, well actually that's for the player to decide and find whether or not something's changed a little bit or not. And for YouTubers to make content on, which isn't a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, big nerfs or big buffs, they got to be reported. And as you can see, a huge amount of them have been spoken about here. Widow Dagger damage reduced by 10%, Tip Mahoney damage reduced by 15%. Base damage or most poison effects player enemy reduced by about 10%. It may not be super specific, but it's enough to tell you that yes, some things have changed with that weapon set. Now the devs have already mentioned in Discord that it might have just been a mistake in this one instance where a couple of pieces weren't added, but it wasn't done on purpose or to hide anything. In actual fact, they haven't got a confirmation that's happened, but have just suggested it might be something that has happened. It's just the nature that when you get so much data from so many different departments, trying to find the most important stuff to make it make sense and palatable for most players, that's the goal of patch notes. It isn't to list every single change that happens in a game. That is ridiculous, and anyone that says that should happen has no clue about how game development actually works. So that's my bottom line. Like I said, I've gone on about this. I've had arguments with people in Discord, with other tubers as well as going on a big rant in my stream, like I said. And I'll carry on defending stuff. The minute I see Grounded become a really crap developer, the minute I see them not caring about their community, maybe rinsing microtransactions, or putting out update after update that hasn't actually improved stuff or is intent on wrecking the game, don't worry, I will start being critical of them. Back in the day, I was pretty critical of Grounded. I said that it needed more replayability. And you know what? They added a lot of stuff to make it more replayable. They added things like the waft emitter. They added stuff like the mixers. They gave stuff to do other than just the laboratories and the boss fights. They added more base building tier pieces. I think a lot of people got short memories. All throughout early access, Grounded was one of the best early access games going. We all play lots of survival games, I'm sure. But I promise you, as a YouTuber on my other channel covering games for 6-7 years with 70 million views, I've covered every survival game that has come out in that time. With guides, gameplay, talking about it, features, getting hyped, or maybe doing reviews and telling people maybe to avoid it. And without doubt, Grounded has been one of the best experiences I've ever seen. With developers focused on talking to their player base, whether it's through the live streams that they do with other streamers and then answering questions at the end, the consistent patches and the patch notes that they give us, as well as the issue trackers that you can take care of, and a dedicated support in Discord. Again, something a whole ton of these other games don't always necessarily have. This is why it baffles me when I see YouTubers like Mediocre Milton complaining so bitterly or making umpteenth videos in a negative slant. He's not the only one. There's people in Discord, there's people on Reddit and socials as well that criticise and complain. And it's not the only thing they do. They of course love other stuff that happens with the game. And I'm sure they appreciate good stuff and show good gameplay or talk about it or show screenshots. But there definitely is a bit of a trend at the moment since Grounded hit 1.0 to basically just try and crap on the game, with huge unrealistic expectations about what the game should be or where it should be at this stage, knowing full well the game wasn't going to change dramatically before its full release. And so yeah, I'll keep picking arguments with people, I'll keep defending when I see people being douches, because that's what I've always done with games. I've been really critical of games in the past like Ark Survival Evolved, because at times that game was treated like trash, especially for console players. I've literally had big arguments with some of the devs on Twitter, but I've still managed to remain friendly with a lot of them as well. So much so that I still get sent gift boxes about Ark's upcoming releases, or get opportunities to go ahead and promote or do marketing for them. There's a balance between constructive criticism, making devs aware of issues and problems, and also making sure they've got enough suggestions to go on to improve. At the moment, a lot of what I'm seeing is mostly negative. It's hate bait, it's drumming up drama in Discord channels, or raising stuff on Reddit and socials that just doesn't need to be raised. It's not the first time I've had run-ins with people, whether it has been other YouTubers or people on socials, because I am pretty feisty, and sometimes I can be a bit too quick to maybe go on the defensive. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to change too much. What I can do, hopefully, is educate some people at least, and talk to you about how stuff actually works, or at least highlight your problems and issues so you don't have to worry about going into Discord or commenting on the next social post that something's broken, because you'll know now that you can see it, you can check it for yourself, and it's not something we have to kind of set out some sort of hate party for. The Grounded 1.0 launch has got a lot of bugs and issues. A PTB absolutely would have fixed a bunch of them. Would it have fixed all of them? No. Grounded's had a massive increase of players, the biggest it's had in nearly a year on PC, and across Xbox I'm sure it's as big as it's ever been. Every game that has launched in the last 5 years has not been in a stable state that it hasn't needed any kind of hotfix in the first 2 weeks or so. It's all pretty normal to find occurrences. The more players you have, the more reports you get, the more you have to sift through it and work out exactly what's important and what's not. A lot of the issues you might feel like, well, why aren't they investigating them or fixing them? They know about them. Why are we getting buffs and nerfs to certain things? Different departments do different things. The coder's working on problems to do with performance and stability. Well, the one coder at least. He doesn't have to worry about level design, about moving something. That's what the level designer will do, and then just ask him to do it quickly or give him the code to do it himself. Likewise, some art assets being changed or some values or damage numbers being moved around from their systems designer or whatever it is. A lot of that stuff will be done by them, and they can just leave it and put it on the docket to be put onto the next patch. It's then up to the release manager or whoever's in charge of the programming to say, you know what, we're going to put these fixes in here because it will go well while I'm still working on some of the bigger issues. So again, if you're complaining that you're seeing buffs or nerfs or things happening but not fixes to major issues, it's because a lot more of them are maybe being caused by some of the fixes they're trying to do quickly and hopefully enjoy the game. Like, it's more important to fix the inventory sort issue because that was affecting a lot more people from what I could tell than what was happening with the Java-matic issue, which is only affecting a bigger proportion now that more players are getting towards the end of the game. They've known about that problem for a few weeks. I helped report it. I uploaded my game save to them. And so, yeah, there is a few issues with it they're still trying to resolve. But yeah, that's what my job is. I will hype up stuff. I will show you leaked content, cut content and more. But that only actually works out to be about 10% of my content. That's directed to you, Milton, there, since you seem so concerned about what kind of content I've been doing lately. The vast majority of my 88 videos I've done in the last month have been guides and let's plays. News, updates, talking to you about patch notes. With only maybe about 5 of them videos being talking about the future. I'm really happy with the support I've got in Grounded. I think the Grounded community overall is amazing. It hasn't got the toxicity that other games have, but it is creeping in a little bit that people kind of just want to dump on it for fun. And that's the kind of shit I ain't going to stand for. Come back and talk to me when Grounded is really viewed as a bad game. When so many of the bugs and problems have not been fixed for months on end, when the devs keep absolutely nerfing stuff but never actually buffing anything or not giving us any reasons. A lot of the nerfs and a lot of the changes they've done, when you think about it, makes sense. No build, in my opinion, should be the overall build. There is a power gauge that when you get to the end of the game, you should be able to be a bit stronger and you should be able to one-shot or two-shot a lot of the creatures. but there should always be at least one counter, and it shouldn't have to be just bosses. Otherwise, where's the challenge? Where's the fun? Bigger issues that need changing, investigating, like Black Ox horns being dropped more, I agree, stuff like that does need to be upped. But I don't necessarily agree that it has to happen, because we have got creative mode. You can test out a bunch of weapons to see if they're for you, and then you know whether or not to go ahead and upgrade something in your actual real world. The point is, there's ways to get around stuff. If the game seemingly is too easy or too hard, you can change the difficulty. It doesn't affect your achievements. If you're not worried about achievements, you can customize it even more. And again, that's something Grounded have done really well. You can call me a fanboy, you can call me a bootlicker, as someone did in Discord today. And I can just say, fuck you. I know good games, I know bad games. I know when devs are passionate and doing the best they can. And I know when to give people a break. Grounded is going to get fixed in the next couple of weeks. The majority of these issues will be resolved, and I'm sure they will buff some of them builds again. But we don't all have to go to the bottom of the barrel in terms of being toxic or just overly critical. Use the tools that are provided, check to see if your issue's there, look around social media, or check through Discord conversations before repeating the same shit that everyone else has. If you love Grounded, you want the game to do better, support the devs whenever you can. Jump in their live streams, say hello whenever they're live on a Wednesday night, see them in Discord, make sure you say hello. Get behind a great team that has done a lot of good things for the survival genre and absolutely made Grounded one of the best games to play. Now, I've called out a little bit there, Milton. If you're still watching, or any of people like watching his content as well, I'm offering him a chance like I've done a few times now. He wants to talk to me about Grounded a bit more in depth, have a real good discussion without arguments, but actually talking about it properly. Or if he does want to get off his chest some things he's got problems with me, then I'm more than welcome and happy to do a live stream with him. Maybe we can even do it this Friday or Saturday. I'd like to really know or understand how someone can make some great guides and great content for Grounded, can also be so bitter towards it. So it's an open offer. And that's it, I'm done. Until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.